Having introduced decision making under uncertainty and having a sample problem, the types of problems that we do with decision analysis, and before pursuing decision analysis further, we want to see, okay, what happened? What are some of the standard classical approaches to the problem? If we take the classical approach, then we will not be able to make use of subjective probabilities. Generally, statisticians are either Bayesians or classical statisticians. And Bayesians use subjective probabilities, and they've developed means of eliciting them, of extracting people's beliefs. But classical statisticians don't subscribe to this train of thought. And basically, if there's no data, then statistics has nothing to offer. So they see statistics as the field in which one makes correct interpretation and inferences from existing data. Now, according to people who are classical statisticians, how is one to decide when there is no data? Well, people have thought about this to some extent. Let's get to this problem in very stark terms. Stark terms is that we have two actions. We either keep or we sell. If we sell, we make 90,000 regardless. If we keep, then it depends on what happens, and we have no idea of what is going to happen. And it's important to make a statement that there is no agreed upon objective optimal solution. This is a controversial subject, and there is really no universal answer to this very simple problem. But people have thought about it and have made suggestions of various criteria for deciding. And then by giving you a range of criteria, then the decision maker can then choose the criterion that he likes the best, and then follow that criteria in every decision-making situation. And so add some objectivity to the exercise. So one of those is the max-min criterion, which basically assumes that the worst will happen. So you maximize your minimum gain. So if you decide that you're going to sell, you're going to make $90,000, and regardless, you're going to make $90,000. But you'll be extremely pessimistic about the gain of keeping, because if you keep, then you will assume the worst will happen. That means that it is not going to go residential, and in which case you will have lost $40,000. So you're going to assume the worst will happen, and then you maximize the minimum gain, and that, in this case, you would be selling. Now, there are different criteria. There's another one, which is my own favorite of these classical approaches, the minimax regret criterion, which looks at the objective of the game is to minimize your maximum regret. You want to have good night sleeps. You never want to have to say I should have, and therefore, if that's your philosophy, then what should you do? Well, you minimize your maximum regret. What does that mean? If you sell, the maximum regret, well, what could go wrong? If you sell, you get 90,000, but your maximum regret is that you find out the next day or the next week that the residential vote to rezone went ahead and you could have made 200. So you stand to regret $110,000. So you're not going to sleep because you lost $110,000 and you could have used that for all kinds of wonderful things. Now, what happens if I keep it? Well, then what's the nightmare scenario? The nightmare scenario is that if I keep, then the worst thing that can happen is it's not going to go up. It's going to go down, and it's going to be $50,000. But my maximum regret of keeping will be that I could have sold, and if I would have sold, I would have made $40,000 more. And so your regret from making the sell decision is $110,000. That's the maximum regret. The maximum regret of keeping is only $40,000, and therefore, since your objective is sleepful nights, you keep the property and don't sell. And so this is two criterion, and people have come up with various others, and this is just a sample.